Welcome to the Town Board Workshop Meeting, Thursday, November 4th. Please rise and salute the flag.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are behind the town attorney and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Supervisor Perotti.
Here.
Councilpersons Doyle.
Here.
Gutierrez.
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Samoji. Here.
Okay, I make a motion to open the public hearing for the 2022 budget.
I second. Supervisor
Go ahead.
Perotti.
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle.
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Samoji. Yes. Leo.
Okay. Is there any comment?
Leo signed up.
Okay.
No, I saw that. I'm the only one.
Yes.
For budget. You're the only one for budget.
Oh, okay.
Hi. I just had one thing on the budget, which is that I noticed under planning, there was no money allotted for wastewater engineering, and since we finally got the engineer started, and we know in order to get any funds, we're going to have to do a next phase. And in light of the amount of energy I personally had to spend to get the board to come up with the money that you did finally use to hire the wastewater engineer, I think it would be a big mistake to not put some money in for the next phase, which she's going to be done in a fairly short period of time, and there will be additional professional expense. And since everyone's talking about how important wastewater is, I think it would be really a good thing to put some money where it's needed.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other public comment for the 2022 budget? Make a motion to return to regular hearing.
Second.
So we're closing the public
Regular
hearing?
meeting.
I'm going to help.
To close. Okay, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second that.
So we're on 2. Supervisor Perotti.
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle.
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Samoji. Yes.
And I make a motion to return to regular meeting.
Second. Supervisor Perotti.
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle.
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Samoji. Yes.
And I make a motion to open the public hearing for opting out of the marijuana law, lounges and dispensaries.
Second.
Discussion.
We're opening the public hearing so people can speak.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask a question. In advance of receiving a lot of public comment, I was wondering if maybe Ian or perhaps myself with Ian's guidance could just go over some of the facts behind the law, just so everybody has a full background. Would that be helpful, or just do that later?
Well, that isn't part of the public hearing. The public hearing is just for people to make comment, and then we can, Ian can go ahead and, add any information.
Okay.
Supervisor Perotti.
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle.
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Samoji. Yes. So this evening, we have 5 individuals who have signed up, and we also have written comments that have been submitted, but we can begin with Darlene Reamer.
I'm Darlene Reamer, and I live on Smithfield Valley Road in Amenia. And I just have a few comments. Meaning, it's, this is close to my heart, I have to tell you, and it is opinion, but also fact of things that I know from the people who have who've been buried in Smithfield Cemetery. There are currently 6 graves in Smithfield Church Cemetery that tell a sad story of drug use. All of them are under the age of 26. They all started out with marijuana, experimenting, and my husband knows them from school. There were some of his students, and all, you know, people in the neighborhood are in this group. They all started out with marijuana, experimenting to see where it takes you, how far they could travel on the first high. Well, for some of them, they needed more altitude. How high can you go and still be on the edge? What is the next drug that could be more powerful? And so on, until finally it grabs you and nothing else matters. Some, however, can experiment and decide that the reality of life is more exciting than the fake cloud of smoke or the foul smell that can take you, and dismiss the experiment and go on with their lives to become productive citizens in communities. 50 years ago, I mean, this has been ongoing for years and years, and I mean, it goes back to the 20s as well.
Yeah.
50 years ago, at the age of 24, my husband's brother, who thought he could take a marijuana trip and stop smoking anytime he wanted, he was in control. That did not happen. The lure of the next drug enticed him, and he could not escape it. It was like a chain around his shoulders. At the age of 26, he decided to end the misery with suicide. He is among the 6 young people in the cemetery. We are here to discuss whether or not the town of Amenia should opt in or opt out of the opportunity to allow a marijuana lounge and marijuana dispensary in this town. This is odd that the word lounge refers to a public gathering place of comfort for relaxing, and dispensary refers to a place where medicine or treatment is dispensed. So I don't know if these really fit into that category. The general public is not included necessarily, only those who smoke marijuana and enjoy the pungent odor of the smoke that will fill the room, and they all enjoy it, as misery loves company. Amenia is Latin for the phrase pleasing to the eye, and many people have moved to this area because of the views and because the quality of the air. In the past 2 years, it's really been exuberant. People coming from Brooklyn, people coming from the city to be in this area. The quality of life, it's not always available in other areas in the country. Some adjoining towns, such as Millbrook, have opted out, and others are considering doing so as well. I don't want to see lines of people out on our sidewalks in Amenia waiting to buy their stash, which they can turn around and sell to our young people, which often happens. Someone who's 21 or older can go and buy it, and they will resell it to a young person. I fear for our young people who may decide to take part in this experience. One person in town, when I talked about this, told me that, well, at least our young people would be getting good quality marijuana. Young people are very innovative in acquiring what they think is forbidden fruit. Why add their choices of what is forbidden? We don't need a marijuana lounge, nor a dispensary in Amenia. We need to maintain our quality of life and enjoy the clear water, the crisp, clean air that we breathe, and the vast views we enjoy every day while living in this town. Let's not let Amenia go up in smoke. Thank you.
Paul?
Good evening. My name is Paul Winters. I've been a resident here in Amenia for 15 years. I'm here to speak to you tonight about the marijuana dispensary. As Ms. Reamer said, some people have had a bad experience with marijuana over the course of their years. I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up with Nancy Reagan's Don't Do Drugs. I'm now coming up on 50 years old. We experimented, we had our fun, but then we moved on in life. You have a thriving black market of marijuana already established. Users, some people are using it for recreational use. Some people are using it for medicine use. They're using it for their anxiety. They're using it to help themselves with pain or cancer. This drug has been here all these years. I smoked when I was younger. I turned out okay. I've been volunteering for the town for the past 15 years. I'm finding more and better ways to help the town as I go along. This idea that if we keep a dispensary from the town, that our young people will not be able to access marijuana, that's a false hope. They're already getting it rather easily. My kids tell me it's easier to get marijuana than it is to buy beer. If you have it at a dispensary, at least you have an opportunity to regulate it. This town has had a long history of coming together and standing up against different ideas that are percolating through the society. Back in 1916, a group of residents got together, went over to Troutbeck, and they started the NAACP. Ku Klux Klan was very popular at that time, but this town chose to be different. In 1929, a group of Jewish immigrants came to this town and built a synagogue. Can you think of any other synagogue that was built in this area in 1929? This town has a long history of standing up for people that may be pushed off to the fringe because people have this set idea of what they may be. But at the end of the day, they're not bad people. They're your neighbors, your co-workers. They're already using this marijuana to treat their different options. I think we should give them a chance. At first I thought that possibly it was about the money issue, but it's really not about the money. It's about respecting people's choices to do different things. Some people think that possibly the marijuana has led to these people trying harder things. When I talk to my kids, they tell me today that the biggest problem is prescribed opioids. They're going to their doctor, they're getting prescribed a pain relief pill, and then they can't get it anymore, so now they're turning to heroin. That's something to think about. It's not just about marijuana. Marijuana is pretty much just like any other drink. We legalize drinking alcohol on a daily basis. Why would that be any different for a dispensary? That's it. Thank you.
Dan.
Good evening, if it may please the board. My name is Daniel Donnelly. I reside at 15 Old North Road here in Amenia, and I come to testify in favor of opting into recreational cannabis for Amenia. Personally, I do not consume cannabis, but my position is informed by being the Dutchess County Libertarian Party's chair, because ours is the representation of all your freedoms all the time. And at crux of this matter is freedom. Right now, New Yorkers have the freedom to possess, transport, and even openly consume recreational cannabis, but not to go into a storefront and purchase it. So where the legislature had this shortfall is at your discretion to rectify that, and I urge you to do so and vote to opt into recreational cannabis. But I would like to direct my comments to the case offered by Councilman Gutierrez at October 7th's virtual hearing. To remind you, that was the case of the dispensary in Great Barrington, Theory Wellness, which in its first year of operation generated $30 million in sales. The Marijuana Taxation Regulation Act would give to Amenia a take of 2% on that, which equates to the usual intake of property taxes for the year at $600,000, if I remember Mr. Gutierrez's example. And of course, I hardly have to remind you that this past election's thorniest issue was property taxes. So before us, we have the prospect of offsetting revenue generated by the involuntary payment of property taxes with that generated by the voluntary consumption of cannabis. And though we libertarians detest taxes, this is a deal we will take any day. And I urge the board to consider this and to opt in to recreational cannabis. Besides, on a personal note, I just wanted to offer my congratulations to those board members who won their re-election, to the members incoming. I imagine yours is a thankless job, but I, for one, appreciate what you do. Thank you very much, Sam.
Mary Ann.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Ann Snow Pitts from Wassaic, New York. And I'm here to comment on the marijuana dispensary, just to keep your options open. I'm a person in recovery. I am an addict and an alcoholic. And even though I'm in recovery, the difference is the disease of alcoholism. It doesn't matter if you experiment. I experimented with marijuana when I was 13 and became addicted to it. But I'm also an alcoholic and an addict, and that's the difference. There's people who can drink, and there's people who can't drink, and alcoholics and addicts can't drink or drug. So that's on my personal opinion. And I have my wife who has a cancer, and she's in a lot of pain. It's a bone cancer. And she is currently taking cannabis in gummies. And I go to the pass at least once a month and purchase gummies for her for pain or for sleep. And it just is a no-brainer that to keep our options open and not have to drive to Massachusetts. She has a medical marijuana card, but the dispensary is in Wappingers on the edge of Fishkill. And it's just as far to go there as it is to go to Massachusetts for us from this side of the county. So that's my opinion, and hope you keep your minds open about it. And again, on a personal note, congratulations to all the candidates who won their re-election, and thank you.
Mary Ellen Brown.
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Brown. I live in Wassaic, and I've been living in Wassaic for almost 30 years. I wanted to comment on the marijuana dispensary because I also know people that use this as a medicine. I actually have a daughter-in-law who's pregnant and was able to get off of her anxiety medication by carefully, with the care of a doctor, using marijuana to help her get rid of her anxiety medication. So I have family members also that use it for other medical uses, and I just think that if we were to look at the use of marijuana only from the anecdotes of all the people that have suffered from the disease of addiction, which, like Mary Ann, I also suffer from that disease, but I'm in recovery for 32 years. But I do think that these people deserve the opportunity to use this medicine, and even as a recreational relaxant, maybe. I lost a brother to alcohol. He was coming home from his high school graduation party, walking, and he was drunk. And he was his boot got caught in a switch of a train, and he was killed by a train. So these kinds of things happen, and they happen with alcohol just as much as they do with marijuana. I just think that this is a time when we do need to be open-minded and allow people that need this for medicine especially to have access to that medicine. And I just want to thank you for all you do, all of you, because I watch you on TV. I'm not very active, I'm kind of quiet and to myself, old retired teacher, but I just want to thank you because I care very much about this town. Thanks.
Doug is in the hall.
I'm Doug Broughton, I live in Wasaic. I wasn't planning on speaking, I just wanted to listen to what was going on. But there's a few points brought up. One, I think it changes pretty much daily, but I think it went from 2.5 to 4% over to 9% for the sales tax the town gets to keep. That's what I read this morning. Now, I don't know if they're dividing that new 4% on the MRTA, but anyway. My background in cannabis is I'm a cultivator. And unfortunately, New York has been one of the last states that you'd think would have legalized it by now. So if I had to I've gotten work all over the country. And I've seen the failures each state's done. And usually it's over licensing. For this town, this is a small town. I grew up in Washington State in a town just like this. Very conservative. I don't think you have to worry about a lounge because for one, the lounges and dispensaries, unfortunately, I don't know why they're together. They should have two different licenses because the lounges are just for recreation, where the dispensaries are for people that need the medicine. Now, there's something about me, I've worked in this industry, I'm called legacy now, since the mid-90s. Started in California, went to Washington State, Colorado, back to California, and down to Delaware, where this company was, it's a medical company. My job is usually to go through problematic facilities and fix them. I still get emails from people from the medical dispensaries that I don't know thanking me because of the way the cannabis is being created this time. And I don't really smoke THC. I like CBD, I like edibles, I have arthritis, and the edibles aren't created, if they're created with what's they called a non-solvent, I think it's a lot better. It's like BHO, butane, CO2. It makes a cannabis that just goes to your head to affect cannabinoid release, where if it's done with grain alcohol, like the old way they used to do things, break things down with alcohol and then evaporate it out, it's much better for the body. I think this town could use a dispensary. I don't know how it would be zoned. I understand that people don't want to see lines like you have in Great Barrington, but you have to understand, I mean, I know there's a quabbling going between Saddle Ridge and here about dropping assessment and tax issues, but the money coming in from cannabis, because we're at crossroads. We're not only going to Connecticut, you have, what's this, 44? Yeah, you have 22. Going up in the wintertime, there's 3 ski areas up there. And we have the rail trail here now that's going to be a huge draw. We're going to actually there's a lot of people starting to set up little rentals for people to come here and make it a tourist attraction. Those people are going to smoke, and that's going to be recreational. But the lounge, I don't believe, is going to be an issue here. I heard somebody talking about air quality. You understand this is New York. Albany there's going to be so many restrictions on lounges. You're talking these things like charcoal filters. So any air it's going to be pulling what's called negative pressure. So air is going to be coming in and coming out. It's going to be filtered. So yeah, it'll stink inside the lounge. But again, I don't think you're going to have a lounge here. Nobody with that kind of money is going to want to put one here because here they're going to smoke at home. This is the way it is. The dispensary, I think, could add a lot of money to this community, and I think we can use. It's going to be a rough few years. We all know that. You know, the economy is not going to be springing back together in 2 or 4 years. It's going to be slow. It's going to be inflation. They're going to be doing all kinds of stuff with the Fed. So I think it'd be a good 4%. If that's going to stay on the MRTA, it's going to be a lot of money. If you do the Great Barrington numbers, which we might not get Great Barrington numbers, but we are at crossroads, and people will stop here if they know there's a nice dispensary. I don't know how the zoning would work, but you could say it's not going to be inside like a certain, you don't want to see lines in the city. I know it looks bad. Like say, I know the bank's going into business. I understand that's a great spot, for a dispensary, but there would be a line, there would be parking there all the time. There'd be, with this traffic jam we get here at the light, it's just, But if you want to put one out of town, on say a mile out of town, I don't think that's going to hurt anything. It's not going to get in anybody's way. The way the licenses are going to be given out, you have to own property. We're not talking about that now in the MRTA, but you're going to have to own a business or own property in order to get a license. You're not just going to be some guy that's got a 2-year lease that's going to, I have some money, I want to throw up a dispensary. It's not going to work that way. It's a lot of money to get these things involved, and there's a lot of oversight with the state. Sometimes too much. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out there. Cannabis, to me, the CBD aspect's a great medicine. THC, since I don't do a lot of that, I still see people that they respond to that, and I see people that don't respond to that. It scares them. They've smoked it once, and they did not like it. I understand that. But it really is for people with a lot of opioid issues for some reason. They respond to it. It gives them something to do that's not addictive. Physically, it's not addictive. But anyway, if anybody has any questions, I'm better with questions than kind of spurting out.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Been very informative.
Thank you for your time.
So is there anyone else that's present that wants to speak? I have 2 written comments submitted prior to the meeting. The first one comes from David Rosenberg. As he's not able to attend here this evening, he'd like to share his views on the matter. Anyone who uses recreational cannabis is already buying it somewheres, either legally or illegally. I've been by numerous outlets from Sheffield to Boston. Nowhere are there crowds, bad behavior, or other disruptions, nor have I seen anything one would call negative. Licensing requirements are strict, as it is the 21-year age limit. Quality of the products sold is regulated. Tax benefits to the town cannot be overlooked. There is so much we need to be doing, and people are frustrated with tax increases. If we give up the opportunity for the dispensary in our town, we give up the tax windfall, and our citizens will just drive to the next town and give them the tax money. He supports allowing the licensing dispensary in town. Please give it careful considerations. The other comment comes from Uli Romaneski, and she would like us to know that that she is in favor of the dispensary for Amenia, and that she thinks it would be a great idea and good for additional revenue that we may need. So she'd like to share that with us, advising us that here is one of our neighbors, she's for the dispensary. And those were the 2 comments I received prior to the meeting.
Mike, did you have any comments to make as far as licensing or permitting? Michael Singleton, our building inspector.
As of yet, no, because we're still waiting what the state is going to come up with. You know, as far as the codes, we have not had anything guidance by the state on it. So it's still, I don't know if the state knows how they're going to regulate it as of yet. So the licensing, but the most I can see it's going to affect us if you want to zone it to certain areas or something like that at the moment. So, you know, a certain area to keep the people, like Doug was saying, like just out of town in certain areas or something. So there's not crowds if they do. Because I know Great Barrington gets crowded, but I think the more options we have for people, the crowds are going to diminish too. Because they'll, you know, right now the area is either Fishkill, Beacon area, or Great Barrington that I know of. So, you know, yeah, there's crowds, but if more towns start opting in, it's going to eliminate how many people are spreading, trying to go to one spot, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other comments at this time? I make a motion to return to regular meeting.
Close the public hearing.
I'm sorry, I never want to close it.
No, never.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Doyle. She's starting. Supervisor Prody.
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle.
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Samoji.
Yes.
And I make a motion to return to regular meeting.
Second.
That's 29. Prody, Samoji. Supervisor Prody.
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle.
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Samoji.
Yes.
Ian, would you like to go over the marijuana law so that people are, and also how the revenue would work?
Sure. So right now, the law is, the law was created, but the bodies and the committees that are to create the regulations have yet to be created. So a lot of this is still unknown at this time. There's been guidance and reports as to what the taxation will be. So the opt-out, and what this particular law is, it allows the municipality to opt out of a dispensary and a lounge only. Those are the only two items that are available to be opted out of.
Or you could do either or.
Or either or. You could do either or. And throughout the county, it's been a mixed bag with municipalities as to how they're handling it. The taxation of it, I think, seems to be the most confusing part of it. The guidance that I've seen with regards to the tax is that there will be a 4% sales tax. That sales tax goes directly to the county. The county retains 25% of that, and then there's the remainder, 75%, which is then available for the municipalities, cities, villages, and towns. And it is to be distributed in accordance with the proportionate share of sales that come from each of those jurisdictions. So if you have more dispensaries in your town and you have a very, very high rate of sales, you're going to receive a larger percent of that 75%. What those numbers actually mean in practice, I couldn't tell you. But that's the
But the
guidance that I've
state gets
seen.
the bulk of it.
The state will get the bulk of it because it's licensing. There's so many different licenses.
Just to clarify, it's a 13% total sales tax. And then of that 13%, 4% is
Correct.
collected by the county.
Correct.
And then 3% of that 4% is then distributed to the towns, villages, and
3/4, yeah. So 75% of, yeah.
4%.
Yeah. Yes.
To all the cities, towns, and villages.
Yeah, based on a proportionate share of their sales. So that's the guidance I've seen. I have seen that change a couple times again, so I don't know how clear much of this is, but the guidance that we're receiving from the Association of Towns on this is as I just reported.
I'll just add to that there is some reference to zoning as far as where dispensaries and lounges cannot be located, and let's see, I'm looking at the Association of Towns memo here, but obviously the town municipality can zone it however they feel is appropriate, but the minimum requirements by the state law are that no on-site consumption establishment can be within 500 feet of a school or 200 feet of a house of worship. And that's the guidance in the current cannabis law, section 77.
A lot of these laws with the cannabis law, those restrictions you just mentioned, those are taken directly from the alcohol limitations. So the SLA, State Liquor Authority, has very similar regulations already in place. It is likely that the marijuana laws will mirror much of what the SLA does, but until they put these boards and committees together, we don't know exactly what it's going to be.
And basically what the state has told us, that if we do nothing, then we're automatically opt-in for both. And if we opt out of either or, then if we decide to opt in, when it's more clear where the dispensaries, could be. I mean, right now, I believe there's a number like 700 that they're planning that will be doled out to cities, towns, and villages.
That is correct. So the municipality can opt out. In order to opt out, they have to pass the law before December 31st. If they opt out, they can opt in later. But if they don't opt out now, they can never opt out. So if you opt out, then you have the choice to do it later on if you wanted to get back in.
But we also have the choice of either or.
Correct.
So we could opt out at the lounges and opt in at the dispensaries.
That's correct.
That's one option. But the law we're introduced is to opt out of both.
As the law is written now, it's opting out of both lounges and dispensaries.
Just one further comment on the number of licenses. I made this same comment during the last meeting, but there's, as you mentioned, Victoria, roughly 720-ish licenses the state intends to award in this first round. They have given no guidance on when or if they will award a second round of licenses as of yet. So, just to put that in perspective, if we opt in later, there may not be licenses remaining. The state may not decide to award anymore.
Well, from what I've been reading, they just recently put together the board that's going to oversee the law. So they aren't really fully established yet. They just, chose the persons to serve on the board. And they're in the process of putting together procedures and, what they will follow. But, a lot of it's going to take a while to get this in place to even give us any kind of direction and as far as, how many dispensaries and where they're going to be and what they're going to do. I know they're going to, they're going to follow the state liquor authority, about not having them near schools and whatever. But there's still a lot of unknowns.
Look, from a very pragmatic perspective, I'll just say this, that it's, even if we were to not pass a law and be fully opted in, it's highly unlikely that any business who applies to get a license in the town of Amenia would get one. It's just, there's not a lot that are going to be doled out. And so, from my perspective, again, pragmatically, this is it's not really a huge issue because marijuana is already legal in New York State. Pine Plains is opted in. There's going to be plenty of nearby towns that will have opted in. Some of them may get licenses. I don't really feel like there's going to be an overly onerous, travel or access issue for those who wish to purchase it legally per state law. For me, this is really a purely revenue opportunity, and it's a lotto ticket at that. It's sort of like you got to be in it to win it, and if you're not, it's irrelevant. But if we want to embrace the opportunity to generate a little extra revenue, potentially, again, small probability, then we have to allow for the possibility of some private business in town deciding to want to apply for a license. Maybe they'll get it, maybe they won't. There was a comment about sort of our position as a crossroads in town. It's true. We have 2 railroad stations. We have Route 22. We also border a state where it has not been made legal yet, in Connecticut. I don't know how many of you here remember the old... Sorry?
Connecticut is legal.
For dispensaries?
No.
Well, it's legal now.
It's legal to possess it, but I don't...
Possession.
Yeah.
It's coming like yours is. It's
Okay.
not fully developed.
So, depending on how that works and how they distribute their licenses or however, we may be able to avail ourselves of being in a position like Great Barrington, sort of a close to number of borders that may. Again, it's a long shot. I don't think that, if we did nothing and we allowed both lounges and retail, would we have sort of an explosion of these businesses in town? I highly doubt it. But to forego the opportunity for that revenue, to me, seems, it seems as though it's not in the best interest of the general taxpayer here in Amenia. Especially just noting that it is already legal in the state, and there will be plenty of opportunity to purchase it, you know, as close as Pine Plains, which is the nearest municipality that I know has decided to allow both lounges and retail. So that's my perspective on that.
I would be interested in considering, at least with the, in the terms that I am in office and preparing budgets, is to consider allocating at least a portion of proceeds from such a dispensary towards goals that the town has long wanted but never been able to afford. We look at the budget every year, we put in things like wastewater engineer, can't afford it. Guess why it hasn't gone anywhere? Because we don't have expertise helping us, guide us towards a successful conclusion. A town pool, I lived in Stamfordville before moving here 21 years ago. And there was a town pool where everybody could gather and chat and talk and watch their kids and learn who their grandmother was and their grandchildren, and you all mixed and met on the beach in an informal setting. Conversations we would never have had, neighbors we would never have met. And there was a playground, and there was a tennis court, and there was a thriving library where you could bring your kids to learn how to swim while you're going to play tennis. And those were all, they didn't have a town center. It's very sad. We have a town center, a beautiful downtown, but we don't have a place where, unless you play baseball, a place where people normally gather informally. And I would think that the tax collected from that, if you could say a portion of that would be reserved for improving the playground, creating a town pond where people could gather and be more of a community, I would be in favor of doing that. I've been against it, but I think that the sad reality of our budget is that we cannot afford to do many of the things we have wanted to do for years and years and years. We take it out because we realize what it does to the tax. We have to maintain a reasonable tax load for our residents. That kind of money coming in year after year is what you would need to support a town pool, because I went to the town of Stamfordville and said, how did you afford that? And they said, it is so expensive to keep that going year after year. We did the Halloween, the haunted house that Peter, the guy who did, anyway, Peter Wing would run. They did their concession stand, and they still spent like $200,000 a year just to maintain that. That's almost the cost of our ambulance service. So it's a crippling amount of money. And if you could see a way of supporting that kind of improvement to the community, I would be very much in favor of that.
I don't think it's a matter of money. The Substantial Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration issued something which was last updated on August 12th of this year. And it says that today's marijuana is stronger than ever before. People can and do become addicted to marijuana.
No, they don't.
Would
You
please
can't
not interrupt
speak
me?
out, or you'll have to leave.
Approximately 1 in 10 people who use marijuana will become addicted. When they start before age 18, the rate of addiction rises to 1 in 6. So I don't see it as a matter of money. I see it as a matter of health. There isn't one major health organization in the United States that supports this. Not one. That's all I have to say.
Well, my only comment I would have is that I understand, and maybe the officers can make sure that I know this, that you're not supposed to drive a vehicle under the influence of marijuana, and that there's no way for an officer when they pull someone over for speeding or weaving or whatever, like with alcohol, they can test to see if they're under the influence of alcohol, but there's no test to see if they're under the influence of a marijuana and maybe some other substances too. So I'm a little, to me, I would think that there's still a lot more to understand, a lot more to know before we say something is just dollars and cents, you know, but we have to know all the details, and like Albany hasn't even told us all the details. And if we opt out now, and all the details come down to us, and it's all nicely packaged, and we fully understand, and the people of the town understand, and then it might be a possibility, though I won't be on the board when that time comes, but the board that will be here might elect to opt in on some details that the state is bringing down when they get the clarification of how we're going to make sure people are using it properly or not abusing it and driving and stuff like that. That's a concern with people. I don't know.
Well, I believe the local law that we have introduced is to opt out of both. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
So if we were to make any changes to that particular local law, would we have to have another public hearing?
If you were to do the split, where you opt into a dispensary and then opt out of a lounge, that would be a substantial change to the law, which would require a further public hearing.
So basically, we need to decide what we want to do with the local law.
Okay. I think we should, personally, I think we should opt out for now until we find out what the facts are, because they gave us such a short window, the end of December, you know, and next year's coming, more things will come down from Albany to let us know what's going to be, the details are going to be. And I think the people of Amenia need to know the details. All the people of Amenia need to know the details.
Okay, did someone else want to make a public comment?
Actually, okay. It's just about the, I believe, you might know, they're really close to the saliva swab for THC for people driving impaired. I mean, any cop knows that a guy's driving 30 and a 50, he's probably high. Because that's what people that are impaired with cannabis, 90% of the time, they're just driving beyond like acceptable speed limits. They're really slow. But is that true? That's coming close? I've heard a few times that they're coming. Oh, okay. That's something that's coming up very quickly, because that's an issue, driving impaired.
Yes.
And it's dangerous.
Yes.
Because but the saliva swab, they've been working on it for a few years. You know, it's in battle, because they say, well, this and that, because the blood test doesn't work, because the THC will stay in you at least 30 days. And they were using that to begin with, and then they were losing everything in court. But the saliva test is very quick. And I think that's going to be within a year. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say.
Well, then, within the next year.
I'd like to make a couple of comments.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I wasn't planning to, but I feel compelled after working with students for almost 40 years and watching students who thought they were going to enjoy recreational marijuana actually ended up being devastated. They don't take on the term like burnout or no mind, because THC tends to stay in the system, and it's absolutely almost permanent. It doesn't stay permanently, but it stays within the fat cells for 6 to 8 months. They do not let people fly planes who've ingested marijuana. A woman was letting off her children this morning in Sharon, very politely letting the children out of the car, and all of a sudden, a car came from behind at 45 miles an hour didn't even apply the brakes and totaled the lady. He was stoned. Again, to be able to detect that, it was an obvious factor that the policeman knew that the fellow wasn't registering with any questions he was asked. But it could have been very, very serious, and fortunately, nobody was hurt. Again, my comments are that if people need it medically, that's fine, especially if you're in a case of being terminal. But for youth to take this on as recreational, it hasn't proven to have any positive benefits. If anything, it's probably permanently devastating. And it's been brought out tonight that it tends to be a gateway drug. Nobody knows how it reacts in each individual. Everybody's different. There's a very strong correlation between schizophrenia in some individuals and THC. So to comment glibly that recreational marijuana is a mood issue is extremely dangerous. And I keep hearing this comment time and time again. As you heard my wife speak, I buried 6 young people under 30 who were probably heroin overdoses, but more than likely they started with recreational marijuana. Thank you.
Yes, we're in the public comment period, so if you'd like to make a public comment, but you need to identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Amy Bloomberg. I've been a resident of Amenia officially since 2005, and I haven't prepared, written down my thoughts, but I have very strong feelings. I'm listening to this gentleman speak, and it sounds like it's from...
Please don't refer to anyone else who spoke. Your public comment is your public comment.
My public comment is that marijuana and THC have been proven to be very beneficial helping in health benefits. And besides that, the recreational use has not hurt anyone. Certainly no more than alcohol use. People are not addicted to marijuana, where this has been said during this meeting in the past 20 minutes since I've been here. That's untrue. It's just incorrect. The facts are wrong. So, whereas people who are addicted and alcoholics may benefit, in fact, from using marijuana. But that's really not even the focus of what I want to say. I'm 62 years old, a child of the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. Started smoking pot in high school. Not regularly, my choice. I call myself a moderate user. That's my choice. I think it's really ill-informed what's some of the things that are being said here. I think that marijuana use and THC and CBD use is widely used. It has been for years and years and years. And a dispensary is a very controlled situation. They take your license. They scan you when you go and register yourself. And before you buy anything, they scan you again. They make sure that you're above age. They're not selling to 16-year-olds or 12-year-olds or 13-year-olds, who, by the way, over all these years, if they want to buy pot, they've been buying pot, okay, from unlicensed, uncontrolled sources. Having a dispensary where it's very controlled is a good thing, okay? You may disagree with me, but it's a good thing to have it controlled because people are using it anyway. They have been for hundreds of years, 100, 200 years. So it's being used. I have friends who are lawyers, doctors, nurses, architects, designers, all kinds of professionals, people who have very established, serious businesses. They're pot users, much more than I am. They know their limitations. I know my limitations. You choose to do what you want to do. But I think that there's a misconception that a dispensary is going to be like some kind of place where people are hanging out and getting high, and it's instilling inappropriate behavior. I think that's an incorrect assumption. It's not. For instance, up in Sheffield, Massachusetts, where there's a dispensary, where it's very controlled, and I visited recently, where they take your license and they scan you and they make sure that everything is legitimate. There were couples in their 60s and 70s, okay? There were professionals coming in with their suitcases. I think that it seems to me that there's a misconception here that's frankly old-fashioned, that this is leading to heroin abuse. It's just uninformed information. I'm going to say one more thing. As far as medical marijuana, I have a very close person to me who was a very important person in this community, I believe, who suffered a devastating stroke several years ago. And he's in continual pain, okay? The only thing, because he's too incapacitated to receive surgery, opioids, all kinds of medical, medicines that will cause him to be addicted, help. But given the choice, taking him to orthopedics of the Hudson Valley, when there was no other way to help him relieve his pain, okay, they recommended medical marijuana. And where do you get medical marijuana? From a dispensary. And then the last thing I'm going to say, and I touch on that just a bit because it's sensitive. The last thing I'm going to say is we're in a tremendous area. Amenia, everybody passes through Amenia, right? We love our neighborhood. We love our area. We're in a great area. But everybody passes through Amenia. To bring in this kind of revenue to a place that passed through, and we want them to stop. We want them to stop at the gas station. We want them to stop at the restaurant. We want them to stop at the antique stores and the decorator stores and the restaurants and everything. Why not? They're not going to be hanging out, causing a ruckus, being, degenerate here. This is a place where it might bring revenue for your pool, for everything that we want and we need here. We need the revenue. So I think it's a great place. Given the laws of New York and what's happening in our country, and if you're not familiar with the effects of THC and you can't control yourself, that's not true. It's much easier than and it helps alcoholism. So anyway, I think it would be very beneficial. I think we're in a great area for it. Another reason to stop and stay in Amenia and stop and get gas and go to the restaurants and bring revenue to our community. There's nothing wrong with it. So, all right. So I said my piece. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
I'm sorry, let me just add a couple, are you going up? No. So just to, again, I didn't mean to be dismissive with my with my use of the term moot, but, you know, I just want to, maybe it'll take the heat off here, but we're not debating the legality of use of recreational marijuana in the town of Amenia or not, right? That's not within the purview of this town board. It is legal as of today. There's 33 states plus the District of Columbia that allow legal medical use of marijuana. New York was the 15th state to permit recreational use of marijuana. And as far as general sort of national polling, about 60, this is a Pew Research poll from April 2021, 60% of Americans polled think medical and recreational use should be legal, 31 believe only medical use should be legal, 8% believe neither form of use should be legal. There is a sort of age discrepancy when it comes to that. 70% of adults under age 30 believe that it should be legal for both medical and recreational use. And it is kind of flipped on the other side, above 75. A little hard to, oh no, here it is. 32% believe it should be legal for medical and recreational use. I only bring that up today just because there's a lot of folks who live in Amenia, not all the sort of age group that I'm referring to there is represented here today in the public comment. So I didn't mean to be dismissive of that. We're not, you know, talking about whether or not to allow marijuana use in the town of Amenia. It is illegal to use it while driving. And that's why I say ultimately, by reduction, it is really a revenue decision for us.
It's my understanding that the medical marijuana, there's already a law been passed that it can be used and be dispensed. So the dispensary isn't, it's for recreational, is my understanding.
Correct. So medical marijuana use is a different license. It's regulated under Article 3. The opt-out is with regards to adult use cannabis, which is Article 4, and that is
The recreational.
the recreational use,
Okay.
adult use of
'Cause
marijuana.
we need to
So there is a distinction between that,
distinction
yes.
between the two of them. Okay. Well, what would the board like to do at this point? Would you like to vote on the law?
We've not prepared a resolution for that at this
Okay.
point, so it's,
So we want to wait until the next meeting?
yeah, we can prepare a resolution as to how the board wants to decide, and then, and we can have that formalized at next meeting.
Okay. All right, so we'll be,
Is the board in general just interested in maintaining the resolution as is, opting out of both? That was a question for my colleagues.
I am.
I am.
You don't have to answer, it's not a vote, but,
well, you asked the question, we expect an answer.
oh yeah, I mean, but you can reserve the right to,
My only comment to that is if there's going to be change to the law, then obviously there would be a
another
different,
public hearing.
yeah,
Yep.
another different process.
I would go in favor of a dispensary, but not the lounge. So I would be interested, but I don't think there's the support on the board for that, so it doesn't seem
Well,
worthwhile.
you know, everyone has their own opinion and is allowed to express it. We're not taking a vote tonight.
I just wanted to give Vicky the luxury of not having to opine in a straw poll. I wasn't trying to put her on the spot, that's all.
Well, I think we need to take a straw poll in order to understand what our next request is, if any, as far as reissuing this law or not. So you would be the deciding vote, Victoria. There's probably at least 2 of us who are interested in a dispensary, but not a lounge, as I understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I
I would not
voted.
be for a lounge. I don't think that's, like we said, we're not really in that kind of a, I would think we would be.
Again, like,
So if we opt out now, we can always opt in after,
That's
when we
correct.
get all the facts, and maybe that's when we can
Well, we,
decide how, if it comes down, you can have a dispensary if you want, or you can have a lounge, or you can have both. If that comes down from the state, then we will have that option to opt in. The town board will have that option to opt in.
So what, the problem I have is that we can't afford to move forward with our wastewater. I mean, are we never, ever?
well,
going to
we're not
move
going to be getting
forward?
money right away, Vicki.
No, I understand, but there's
But
an
you need to think of
opportunity
long-term here.
to make a change so that we can have a budget that reflects some of the goals that we've had but never been able to complete.
So what are you saying?
I would
Did-
be interested in reissuing this law as a dispensary, but not for lounges. But if there isn't a sufficient number of people on the board who would be interested in hearing that, then there's no point.
No, but I don't think we can do that. I think Ian said that it's, right now, they're coupled together.
No.
No, they
that
can
is-
split, yeah,
they
they
can
can
s- oh, they
split,
can
yeah. So you could opt for a dispensary, opt to have the dispensary, and then opt out of licensing
lounge,
the
the
lounges.
lounges.
Correct.
I think what Ian has said is that you, as drafted right now, it's opting out of both.
That's
Correct,
correct.
as drafted.
So the town board needs to direct Ian if they are interested in a different version of this law.
No,
So that-
but is it drafted, is that you drafted that, or the state?
That's the introduction to the local law that was given to you.
Okay, so that's.
It says opting out of both.
Of both, okay. All right.
So to respond to Vicky, I would be supportive of either or, meaning,
Well, I wouldn't go
allowing
for
both
both,
or
so-
allowing
Right.
dispensaries. And again, I do fundamentally believe it's a revenue issue and solely that. I mean, both alcohol, I'm looking at the NIH website right now, both alcohol and nicotine cigarettes are deemed far more of an addiction risk than marijuana.
I think what
and-
we need to do is
Excuse me for
keep,
1 second.
is
Sorry. Sorry.
concentrate on the issue at hand and not whatever other
No, I am.
addictive
Well,
drug.
none of us are doctors here, and I, we shouldn't dispense medical advice. I'm just saying that, and I don't have a crystal ball either, in addition to not being a doctor, but today, you can go to the gas station and buy cigarettes and alcohol.
That's fine, but that's not what we're talking about now.
I'm-
We're talking about
Can I,
the marijuana issue.
I understand. Let me finish here.
No,
What-
Let him finish, Michelle.
Okay.
Please.
The
he
reason I
has the
believe it's a
floor.
revenue component is because the current structure of how the state has structured, the dispensing of licenses and the retail aspect of it and the limited nature of it all. To me, in my head, that's going to be a very limited runway. Maybe 5 years, maybe 6 years, maybe 10 of, dispensaries having a monopoly on distribution of marijuana, but I don't think ultimately it's going to be that way. And so the window to realize the benefits of any of that revenue, I believe, is small and will eventually expire. And then it'll just be available at the gas station, like all of the other addictive stuff that you can get at the gas station. So that would be my incentive for agreeing, Vicky, that we should at least consider modifying the resolution to opt out to allow for dispensaries, if nothing else.
So we need to hear from Victoria, who has not actually provided her opinion, so that we know whether or not to spend more money revising this or not.
So it's either we're opting out of both or just opting out of the lounges, is that correct?
That's your choice, I think, because there's not support or anything else. I'm not great at math, but there's only 5 of us here.
It's the hot seat right now.
Well, you are the tiebreaker, so that is
I
your role.
certainly am. It's a hard decision to make. You don't want to have something that's, not in the best interest of the town. And I really not really sure how much revenue it's going to be beneficial to this, to our budget. But I'm kind of, I would rather we opt out of both at this time.
Why?
So agenda-wise, do we have we don't have the resolution on the agenda today to
No,
pass
no,
that.
it will be on next
That'll be
month.
next time.
Yep.
And the window for advertising a new public hearing, should any of my colleagues change their mind, that would be 60 days? I mean, we're running out of time for the end of the year.
We're running out of time, so the sooner the better, because we would have to redraft the law, reintroduce, set the public hearing, have the public hearing, and then another resolution accepting. So there is a process, and we are running out of time.
Okay.
So then I will prepare, based on this straw poll now, a resolution accepting the local law as introduced.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for commenting, because this is a very complicated decision. Do appreciate the input.
Supervisors report. Water district upgrade. Town board capital plan review to plan next steps. Altice resolution setting public hearing date. American Rescue Plan funds. First allocation, $224,671.79. An additional allocation of $917.28 deposited into a Town of Amenia money market savings account. The second allocation will be received in summer of 2022. Highway Garage, Crawford and Associates are reviewing the 11 highway garage and salt shed engineering services bids received from advertised RFP. CDBG sidewalk grant, the Route 44 sidewalk extension to Beekman Park engineering plan is in progress. 2022 budget, required 22 preliminary budget public hearings scheduled for town board workshop meeting. The 2022 budget will be under the 2% tax cap. New websites and website updates to Annette Culligan or Nancy Nowak. Town of Amenia COVID-19. The Amenia Town Hall is open for business Monday through Thursday at regular business hours. Masks are requested. Masks are available in an envelope on the second set of doors. Mask and social distancing are recommended for committee, board, and commission in-person meetings. Signing the visitor log with contact information is required. COVID-19 vaccine information. AmeniaNY.gov website has a link to Dutchess County COVID-19 information, or call 845-486-3555. For anyone who is homebound, vaccine appointments can be made at 845-486-2555. COVID-19 vaccines are available at Amenia Drugs. Call for appointment 845-373-8000. CVS Pharmacies. Go online to schedule an appointment. Poughkeepsie Galleria, former JCPenney site, Tuesdays 3 to 7 p.m. and Saturdays 9 a.m. to noon. Online registration or walk-in. Free COVID-19 testing is also available at the Poughkeepsie Galleria, former JCPenney site, during the same days and times. Town Clerk report.
Good evening. Before we get to the business, I just wanted to share what I usually end with is our volunteers. So we did advertise with the Millerton News. I asked her to put it in as a press release, and she's doing her best to get a nice little coverage in there. It's on our website. It's posted on the Town Clerk's bulletin board. We've been announcing for the last several meetings. We have open anticipated seats coming up. We have our planning board, zoning board alternates, Board of Ethics, Recreation Commission, Housing Board, Wastewater, CAC, Enhancement, Water District. I have been receiving applications for several of these positions already, and I cannot emphasize enough right now to all of our residents that are watching this night. Pretty important night for many that are watching. So come on down, join us here at the Amenia Town Hall. These vacancies are there with the anticipation of our new year, and the board has the opportunity to meet with the candidates and do reappointments or appoint new individuals and to fill these open slots. We joke about Facebook quite frequently and how much advertisement you get there. So all those comments can be fulfilled by coming here, filling out the application to volunteer, submitting a simple email stating your name and what committee you'd like to volunteer on, because clearly we can definitely use your help and your input and your volunteering, talents are needed. So come on down. So let's start our report for this evening. For the past month, for October, the local share that has been remitted, local state county revenues were in the amount of $574.50, with the local share being remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $491.50. We have in our packets this evening the monthly report for our building department. Reporting for total income of that office is $52,071.50, and attached is the breakdown. And then I circulated earlier was the seeking of the reappointment as a marriage officer, and that resolution's in our packets this evening under other matters. And our first resolution this evening is 56. 56.
Resolution number 56 of 2021. Resolution to appoint a marriage officer. Whereas this New York State Domestic Relations Law, Section 11C, authorizes the town board to appoint one or more marriage officer who shall have the authority to solemnize the marriage. Whereas the town justices are on occasion not available to perform a marriage. Whereas Dawn Marie Klinger, a resident of the town of Amenia, is 18 years of age or over. Whereas the marriage officer shall receive no salary, but may accept and keep a fee of no more than $75 for each marriage she officiates, paid by or on behalf of the persons married. Whereas the term of the marriage office shall not exceed 4 years and shall be revocable at will by the town board by filing written notice of such removal with the town clerk, by mailing such written notice to the marriage officer by registered mail, return receipt requested. Now therefore be it resolved that the Amenia Town Board hereby appoints Dawn Marie Klinger to be a marriage officer in the town of Amenia for a term of 4 years. And I make that motion.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Samoji?
Yes.
And that'll conclude the town clerk's report.
Before we finish with the town clerk report, I'd like to make a motion to advertise for a 32-hour building secretary as a classified, and also on Channel 22, the website, and whatever boards it's usually posted.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Samoji?
Yes.
Okay, resolution for Town of Amenia scanning grant contract with Co-File 57. Resolution awarding contract for the Amenia Historic Minute Books Project, whereas the Town of Amenia is in possession of the original Amenia Precinct Minute Book of 1762, the Amenia Book of the Poor of 1768, and the Amenia Book of the Poor of 1817, which are among the oldest surviving municipal records in the county. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia and Betsy Strauss of the Amenia Historical Society have been working in conjunction with the Dutchess County historian William Tatum to physically stabilize these books for long-term preservation and to produce high-quality digital images of each page for digital preservation and access purposes. Whereas to fund this project, William Tatum has assisted Betsy Strauss and the Town Board of the Town of Amenia in pursuing the Local Government Records Management Improvement Grant for the New York State Archives. And whereas pursuant to the grant requirements, William Tatum, in conjunction with Sarah Andrews of the Dutchess County Department of Central and Information Services, prepared RFPs through the Shared Services Agreement between the Town of Amenia and Dutchess County to obtain proposals for the Amenia Historic Minute Books Project, whereas proposals were received from Co-File Technologies Incorporated and the Conservation Center for Art and Historic Artifacts. Whereas by letter dated February 3, 2020, the Dutchess County historian William Tatum submitted a recommendation to the Town Board of the Town of Amenia to award the Amenia Historic Minute Books Project to Co-File Technologies Incorporated in the amount of $5,565. And whereas on July 7, 2021, New York State Archives notified the Town of Amenia that the LGRMIF had been awarded to reimburse the Amenia Historic Minute Books Project expenses in full. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. One, the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. Two, the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby awards the contract for the Amenia Historic Minute Books Project to Co-File Technologies Incorporated in accordance with the annexed proposal. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes and directs the use of the Local Government Records Management Improvement Grant to reimburse the cost of the Amenia Historic Minute Books Project. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute a contract with Co-File Technologies for the preservation and digitalization of the Town of Amenia Historic Minute Books as set forth herein in accordance with the annexed proposal after review by the attorney of the town. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Samoji?
Yes.
Ian, do you want to explain what the next motion, the next resolution is to the board?
Is this the road sign? Or is, yes?
For the signs, road signs.
Okay. So, Dutchess County passed a local law whereby they would be enforcing, they would be installing cameras on buses, and through those cameras enforcing the vehicle and traffic law, which makes it a violation to pass a stop school bus. So part of that law was to create signage to notify people coming in and out of the county that beware, this is being monitored and enforced via camera. And so they are placing signs at every border entrance into the county. Amenia has 3 roads that that satisfy that requirement. And so they'll be placing those signs on those particular roads at the border entrance into the county. That's essentially what the resolution is about.
So this is us authorizing the placement of road signs on town roads to let people know about the new Dutchess County local law regarding cameras on school buses.
Correct.
Whereas Dutchess County has recently passed a local law establishing a program to install and utilize cameras to enforce the New York State vehicle and traffic law prohibiting the passing of stopped school buses. Whereas each school bus will now be equipped with several cameras to enforce that law. And whereas Dutchess County local law requires the posting of signs on all roads entering into the county advising travelers that the vehicle and traffic law is now being enforced by cameras. Whereas 3 Amenia town roads, Nob Hill Road, Benton Hill, Niblo. Oh, thank you. Niblo Hill Road, Benson Hill Road, and Clark Hill Road have been identified as border entrance roads into the county. Whereas the proposed signs to be installed have been approved and accepted by the New York State Department of Transportation, whereas the proposed signs are exempt from any permitting requirements under the Town of Amenia Code, whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia has determined that the placement of the sign set forth above is in the best interest of the town and the safety of its citizens. Now therefore be it resolved as follows: the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby acknowledges Dutchess County local law establishing a program utilizing cameras to enforce the New York State vehicle traffic law prohibiting the passing of a stopped school bus. The Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes the posting of the New York State Department of Transportation approved signs to be placed on the town roads set forth above at each border entrance into the county. Can I make that motion?
Second. Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Smoji? Yes.
The resolution setting a public hearing date for the Altice franchise agreement will have to be tabled and moved to the next meeting. The town attorney is currently in discussions with Altice about the approved edits that the town had voted on to approve to make sure it's in the franchise agreement. So that means that the public hearing for the Altice franchise agreement will be on December 16th.
Do we have an update on how they are progressing or not on extending the cable service to the Sharon line?
I'm waiting for an update on that.
Okay.
Okay, resolution to set public hearing date for community development block grant suggestions. And I think we're at 59. Authorizing a public hearing on the intended use of community development block grant funds and the submission of the grant application for fiscal year 2022. Whereas the town of Amenia is a participant in the Dutchess County Urban Consortium for the Community Development Block Grant Program for fiscal year 2022. Whereas the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development is soliciting applications for the 2022 Community Development Block Grant Program. Whereas the town of Amenia intends to make an application for a Community Development Block Grant pursuant to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development's Community Development Block Grant Program for fiscal year 2022. Whereas the town is required to submit a letter of intent to the county on or before November 10, 2021 to determine if the intended project satisfies the eligibility requirements for the grant. Whereas the town of Amenia is also required to hold a public hearing to discuss the town's intended use of the Community Development Block Grant funds prior to and in furtherance of making an application for said funds. Now therefore be it resolved that the recitations above set forth are incorporated in this resolution as it fully set forth and adopted herein, and be it further resolved that the town board is authorized to draft and submit a letter of intent to the county on or before November 10, 2021. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby schedules a public hearing to be held at the Town Hall, Town of Amenia, 4988 Route 22, Amenia, New York, 12501, on the 18th day of November 2021 at 7 p.m. At such time, all parties and citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard as to the grant proposal for the Community Development Block Grant funds being applied for by the town of Amenia for fiscal year 2022. Be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to publish and post this notice of public hearing in the form annexed hereto at least 5 days prior to the scheduled public hearing, and post same on the town's website and signboard maintained by the town clerk. Can I make that motion?
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Smoji?
Yes.
And the last grant, the resolution awarding contract for removing sludge and cleaning underground storage tank, we're tabling that because upon a second reading of the tank, we found that there's too much oil in to remove the sludge, and so we are going to rebid the project in the spring when there's only a couple of hundred gallons of oil in the tank. Town board comments.
November 11th is Veterans Day. That's a Thursday, and I hope everybody will come and honor the veterans in our community and worldwide. It's Veterans Day. I guess it is actually commemorating the signing of the agreement that ended World War II, as I recall.
Yes.
And so 11 o'clock at Fountain Square, please join. Victoria Perotti will be giving a welcoming remarks, but it's really put on by the VFW, Post 5444 in Dover Plains. And
No, it's Amenia.
no, they're in Dover Plains. The physical.
She's talking where the VFW is.
The VFW Post 5444 is in Dover Plains, but the ceremony is at Fountain Square in Amenia, across from,
She's giving their mailing address.
Oh, their
She's not
mailing-
giving their
oh, their
physical. They
mailing
are
address.
town of Amenia
Okay.
residents.
Oh,
The-
okay.
yes.
And their physical address.
Their physical it's a mailing address.
Okay, yes.
But their physical address on their tax
They
bill says
do-
town of
they
Amenia.
are
You're
part of-
correct, Michelle.
part
It's
of
okay.
Amenia.
Okay, go
They
ahead.
moved it overnight on me. I said, what happened to that building?
Their tax bill definitely says town of Amenia. So
Okay.
Right.
we're good.
Dover Plains, parts of Dover Plains are in the town of Amenia.
Amenia,
So
that's
even
right.
though I live in Wassaic, I also live in the town of Amenia. So, thank you. So 11 o'clock on Thursday, November 11th, and I will thank already people who have volunteered to provide PA system. It's one of the things the town of Amenia cannot seem to afford, is its own PA system that would be portable. These are the things we need to beg, borrow, and steal to make these events work.
Don't we have a small,
It doesn't work properly. It's very,
Yeah, it's spotty. We need to get something
we
better.
need to get
okay.
something that's actually,
okay, 'cause- well, I haven't
more
used it in two.
effective.
Well, thank you. Dan has
Maplebrook
one.
School is offering to do it this time, but I would not mind getting your phone number in case Ken Hale is not available to do it at our next ceremony, which is Memorial Day. So May, I'll be looking and scrounging for a PA system again. Thank you.
I had attended a a dinner hosted by the Wassaic Fire Company for the 90th anniversary of its founding. And so I had Nancy do a certificate of appreciation, which I will give to them. Certificate of appreciation presented to Wassaic Fire Company by the Town of Amenia in recognition of its outstanding dedication and commitment to the community, and in celebration of the 90th anniversary of its founding. Are there any other town board comments?
Yes. Where did I just put that paper? Here we go. It's right here in front of me. Hi, everyone. This is some good news here. The senior holiday party is going to be on Wednesday, December 8th at the Pond Restaurant. The deadline to get your money to me is November 16th. Okay? I have about 30-some people already signed up, and I know there are people who have said that they're coming, but please put your checks in the mail, please. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. We're going to have a great time. One other thing I just want to comment on is Halloween, and I'm going to comment on Tally Ho, because Tally Ho is in Amenia. Even though we have Dover zip codes or whatever it is, we're in Amenia, and it's a senior community of over 100 homes. And on Sunday, October 31st, we were able to open our community up for Halloween trick-or-treaters, and we did it from 2 to 4. So the people parked down by the clubhouse, and they all walked through the park. And the residents of the park, many of them, because the weather was so nice, we sat outside by our driveways and stuff and watched them go by. And Scott Drive is our longest road, and it looked like a real Halloween parade there. And it was really nice, and the residents enjoyed it very much. The people coming by were very happy with it. They liked that it was in the daylight, and we have like 300 people come through our park, so it's quite an event for us, especially after being trapped in our homes with this COVID nonsense for these past couple of years. So we did that, and we also had one of the residents said that they're planning for next year, that they're really going to, they live on, where they live, there's a cul-de-sac, and they're going to use the cul-de-sac, and they're going to put up all their blow-up decorations and what have you for Halloween, you know, all the things that go, So they're all looking forward to that. And we will probably do it again, because Halloween next year is on Monday, but we will most likely do it again on Sunday, because we like the weekend. We like that it's 2 to 4. Everybody came in. They were so nice. They started at 2 o'clock, and it ended at 4 o'clock. And it was great, absolutely great. So thank you to everyone who came and visited us, and thank you to all the seniors that participated in giving out the candies, and some even wore costumes themselves. So thank you so much for that. And that's all I got, folks.
Yeah, I'd like to give a big thank you and shout out to Kelly Milano, who arranged a very successful trunk and tree. I believe it was held at the firehouse, Dawn? Yes. Is that where they had it? Because of the possible rain, so it was nice of the Amenia Firehouse to also host our trunk and treat. From what I understand, there were between 8 and 10 cars decorated, and a lot of the children got plenty of candy and enjoyed the event, and it's going to be an annual event. And thank you to everyone who came out and all the children, and you know, we're looking forward to seeing you next year.
Yes.
Can I make one more quick comment?
Sure.
Regarding the budget for 2022, I respectfully ask the supervisor to look back at our fund balance and see if $20,000 couldn't be added to the, from our fund balance to offset the taxes for next year and put $20,000 towards a wastewater engineer.
Well, I was going to ask you how much you wanted to put in there.
And lots of enthusiasm and interest in it, and it just needs technical support for that committee to keep moving forward. So $20,000 seems like a reasonable start.
Okay, $20,000, we can do that. Right now, with the preliminary budget, we're $165,041 under the cap. So there's plenty of room to put wastewater money in there. So I'll add that to the budget.
There's a question on the floor.
Could you go to the, it isn't really public comment, but I'll let you comment.
Just a quick,
No, that's okay,
easy
go
question.
ahead.
I was just wondering when we may resume the breakfasts at the Amenia Firehouse, because that was a,
Well done.
I mean, of course, I know because of the coronavirus, we could not do that last year, but those were
I don't think they
a great
have a
community
plan right
building
now.
event, so I was just wondering about that. Thank you.
I'll definitely bring the comment back to the fire company. Unfortunately, I was working and collecting taxes at our last company meeting, so I'll reach out to the chairman and ask Mr.
However, I
Mercure.
would like to mention that the VFW, let me finish, that the
Sunday.
VFW is resuming their breakfast.
Sunday.
And they'll have one on November 7th.
Yes.
But they're all the way in Dover,
Sunday.
so that's the
Which is in
problem.
the town of Amenia.
Town of Amenia, and
The VFW building,
Theirs is delicious.
yes.
We don't
so
miss
if
it.
you want.
Dawn, nobody's eggs are better.
I know, but I mean, I can't cook for everybody, Damien.
Now, I'm not sure,
Saturday, my
we
house.
need to have an executive session. We won't be having one for Kent Hollow pending litigation.
I have an item.
But I believe Damien had an item.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any more town board comments? Okay, I make a motion to go into executive session
Second.
for,
It's regarding, what's the talk about property acquisition when we don't want to do that publicly?
It would go under any contractual
There you go.
under contractual.
negotiation.
Okay.
And that was, Victoria, you seconded? I'm sorry. What, did you second? Who said second? Anybody
I
yet?
did.
And the town clerk is excused.
Just keep you like I thought maybe. And you'll take the minutes?
Yes, I will.
Super take minutes, and it's 8:42. Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle? Yes. Gutierrez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Smoji?
Yes.